Jo, Stanley Parable 2 gewünscht.
Hallo.
Ja. Bitte fass den Regler an, dass der Hund und Katze Freunde werden.
Ich sehe nichts.
Was? Achso.
Ich habe keinen Stream. Ja, okay. Geile Aufnahme. Ich sehe nichts.
Geile Aufnahme. Okay, also die müssen Freunde werden.
Okay, warte mal, ich muss wahrscheinlich kurz mal wieder.
Also jetzt sind sie verliebt, das ist ein bisschen zu viel, ne? Machen wir lieber so.
Oh.
Also du hast Bild, ne?
Ja, jetzt habe ich wieder Bild. Ich sehe jetzt die 5 mit dem Regler.
Okay, die muss jetzt zu 5 zu 9 werden.
Ich finde
Nein.
nein, gut.
Passt du dir genau auf, dass du aufhörst? Ja, ja.
Na, 3/4.
Achso.
Ja.
Rumtisch.
Rumdusch.
Ist die Uhrzeit,
Ja.
die jetzt gerade ist, die korrekte Uhrzeit? Nein. Was ist Zeit überhaupt?
Ja.
Das ist etwas, das du mir noch nicht erzählt hast? Nein. Wirst du zurückkommen, um mich zu besuchen? Ja. Wir werden zurückkommen. Ja, Leute, die Story des was auch immer vor dem Spiel passiert, ist da. Oh, wir müssen schon wieder zu Stanley Parable 2 laufen. Wollt ihr mich verarschen? Gar keinen Bock.
Gab's wieder etwas Stanley Parable 1 da?
Keine Ahnung. Cutter mal raus. Dankeschön. Ach. Und jetzt laufen wir hier zu Stanley Parable 2.
Yay! You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable.
Warte, ich mach jetzt
and
Cheat
about
Engine
how
an.
roundly disappointing this Ultra
Okay, mach
Deluxe
das mal.
version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that.
Last
legacy.
cheated.
So forget this Ultra Deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why
funktioniert's nicht.
I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever
So.
the Stanley Parable 2. Yes, you see, isn't this fast? An entirely new experience. This. Now, to be clear,
Speedrun.
I haven't quite. I figure that if I can, it'll all work itself out. Here we are.
Okay, hier waren wir gerade eben. Muss nur zurückstellen. Wunderbar, das ging doch schnell.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you hold in the bucket, a sense of calm
That's a
and
bucket.
ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even
Gib
come
mir
to
den
long
Eimer.
for the gentle embrace of jarring
Ich brauche
cognitive
ihn.
dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it
Der
has made
Eimer.
you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Der Eimer. Spürst du es halt?
Ja, ja.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really... Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration.
Ja, lass mich drücken.
But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, Stanley's it is. Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Stanley Parable, Speedhack 5. Okay. Zum Gym-Knopf.
Stanley Parable, and of course, the first... Sorry, but of course, here, let's have you roll... Okay, here we go, let's take a... Whoa, hold on, otherwise... Okay, we're doing it... All right, fine, I'm done with this button. So if you'd only played along... That...
Okay. Was haben wir noch gemacht?
An epilogue would...
Der Sprungkreis. Okay, der ist schon auf 0.
Let's bring the jump circle back.
Okay, hier waren wir auch schon. Es fehlt noch das Loch. Warte, gib mir einen Moment. Das ging angenehm schnell, fandest du nicht?
Mhm, sehr schnell.
Whole Entrance Infinity. Was war das nochmal? Das unendliche Loch, ne? Was steht da? So, uns kurz zurückgehen. War schon angenehm, als Stanley mal endlich die Beine in die Hand nehmen konnte, ne? Tatsächlich. Das Infinite Hole. It won't end. Dieser Eimer. Er ist so wunderschön. Infinity. More hole. Falling. More. Science. A question mark. Space. Okay. It just keeps on going. Ob man damit wohl nach Australien kommt?
Ja.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Ooh.
Oh.
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward. Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this.
Das ist sehr spaßig.
It's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready. Great. Now, I'm very excited. Oh, for heaven. You see? I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much. Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there. Goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh. Did the hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above. Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. I really do have so much more. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability and marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my life has come to haunt me. Not only is the hole not infinite, but it's barely even a hole at this point. It's more of a concavity, or even a very aggressive divot. How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on.
Oh.
Is the, teleport button not working? You
Wäre cool, wenn man noch springen könnte.
Well, I mean...
Ja, habe ich mir auch gedacht.
Ja, vielleicht geht das sogar.
Ja, aber wir haben keine Sprünge mehr übrig. Das ist schade.
Ah, goddammit.
I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of...
Ich hab den Bucket, das reicht. That little precious bucket. Look at the bucket. Look at it. Oha.
Wäre das Loch jetzt nach unten?
Hier passieren Dinge.
Oder bricht es ein?
Zumindest habe ich den Eimer.
Oh,
Oh.
wir fahren durch nach unten.
Oh.
Vielleicht kommt dann der Raider zurück und Stanley ist weg. He gone.
Wir gehen jetzt auf ein Abenteuer. Das hier ist unser Abenteuer.
Ah, wie schön.
Ja. Wie tief das Loch wohl gehen wird? Alter.
Alter. Stanley.
Alter. Alter, krasser Song.
Ja.
Der ist nicht so geil. Alter.
Mario.
Ah.
Oh.
My head's stronger. You're no longer using up the space of mine. My head's stronger. You're no longer using up the
Oh mein Gott,
Oh
nein.
Gott. What the fuck?
Stanley? Stanley? Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
Es passiert.
Nach unten.
Es passiert wieder. Oh,
Oder es geht nach oben. Oh, schade.
das war witzig.
Das war wirklich cool.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
The reinsurance bucket. What precious bucket.
Kann ich was mit ihm machen?
Anschauen. Schau ihn dir an. Er ist so wunderschön. Einstellungswelt. Oh nein, ich erinnere mich. Du musst jede Einstellung überhaupt umstellen. Oh, ist das dumm. 80.
Ja.
Aus. Oh. Alter. Einfach eine Maus.
Ich finde Ego-Shooter auch noch gut.
Boah, eine fette Maus. Warte, ich will das Fadenkreuz sehen. Yeah! Yeah! Gott.
Ah, Nos.
Ja?
Nos.
Ja, was?
Dein Internet stirbt gerade einfach wieder.
Ach, nicht schon wieder. Egal, Einstellungen kann ich ja trotzdem machen.
Ja. Ja, jetzt geht's ja auch wieder, aber ich meine nur, weil manchmal ist es aber so, dass man merkt es einfach dann direkt.
Okay.
Man sieht nichts mehr und etc. Ja.
Oh Gott!
Ich glaube, jetzt muss er nochmal die Steuerung-Einstellung machen.
Nee. Gönn doch! Alter, ist das furchtbar. Alter, ich guck kurz in die Achievements.
Ah ja.
Einstellungsweltmeister. Passe im Einstellungsmenü alle Regler auf alle verfügbaren Werte ein. Wieso? Ja, wieso? Oh, Leute, das ist arschwitzig gerade, findet ihr nicht auch? Okay,
Ja.
wir haben's. Wunderbar. Warum öffnet sich die scheiß Tür nicht? Lass mich rein! Lass mich rein! Wechseln.
This story of
Da, ba, da, 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 da. Oh mein Gott.
Alter, Tür, geh auf.
Na, 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 na. Ein Hoch auf die Cheat Engine.
Absolut.
You
Der
see,
Scheiße, wenn das nicht gehen
I've
würde.
been with the original Stan. So forget this Ultra Deluxe nonsense. Yes, you see, isn't this far so an entirely new experience? This, now to be clear, I haven't quite. I figure that if I can, it'll all. Here we are. A common.
Gib mir den Eimer.
Stanley Parable. Well, I'm happy.
Das ist nicht schnell genug.
You see, Stanley, edit the many. You may even and to be honest. Yes. The glow of comfort. I think that.
Oh Leute, ich find's so gut, dass die Musik noch spielt vom ersten Mal.
So, but of here.
Jim!
Okay, here we. Jim. Whoa, other one. Okay. Jim. All right. I'm done. Jim. See, if you'd only. Jim. Maybe
Jim.
Wo müssen wir noch hin? Die Ballons müssen wir noch mal machen. Erstmal gucken, ob das hier jetzt geht. Ja, okay. Lass erstmal den anderen Stuff wieder machen. Wo waren die Ballons? Ach, hier unten war noch das.
Okay, perhaps, but I guarantee it, gamer.
Sehr spaßig, dass es nicht funktioniert hat. Wo war das mit den Ballons? Ich blöd? Das ist ja ein richtiges Labyrinth. So eine Scheiße.
Okay,
hier.
But I'm under. You know, sometimes when. Oh, actually.
Jetzt haben wir alles. Ach, das Loch müssen wir nochmal machen.
Stanley, this isn't. You can. You see?
Ja, das Loch wieder machen.
Great. Oh, I don't know what there really are. How about? Oh, goodness. The hole was. If that were.
In der Theorie könnte das der Cutter auch einfach rausschneiden, aber das wäre viel zu
Well, I
einfach.
suppose. Had enough? Gosh. Wow.
Ist,
What's going on?
ist das anstrengend.
Oh. Well, I mean. Still not. Goodbye, Stan. It's a. Take care.
Goodbye, Stanley. Alter, wie schnell es jetzt nach unten fährt. Stabil. Die fucking Hunde.
Stanley?
Oh.
Can't have that.
No.
So how about if I stare? Here we.
Okay, jetzt sind wir bereit. Wohin? Oh, ich muss langsamer machen. Machen wir doppelt so schnell. Alter, es ist ja, als würde ich sprinten. Ach, hier oben. Okay. So.
Würdest du sprinten, sagst du?
Ah, I can see you've gotten the Settings World Champion achievement. Well done. You've experienced every setting, traveled to all corners of the settings menu. There's nothing you haven't seen. So, just for you, in the Stanley Parable 2, I'm including an entirely new setting, something called
Alter.
bumpscosity. What exactly is bumpscosity? Well, I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but I just know that you'll be able to adjust it on some sort of slider, and that it'll be available from the settings menu. We'll sort the rest of the details out later. I'm
Alter.
looking forward to trying out every level of bumpscosity in the Stanley Parable 2.
Oh, wow.
Da. You are the champions of setting the slides to all possible numbers. Please enjoy this room. This is your room. It was made just for you. They will never set the setting sliders to every possible setting. Jesus, Alter. Alter, das ist mein Pokal. Alter, das ist das Bild aus jedem Office. Dieser scheiß Emoji, ne?
You did it.
You did it. You did it. You did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Dann gehen wir mal. Mit unserem Eimer. Dieser
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe. Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic... All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Alter, das ist ja ein krasses Design. Stabil. Ich glaube, das benutze ich für ein Thumbnail. Da muss mir kurz das Bild abspeichern.
Mit dem Bucket.
Yes. Wunderbar. Dann habe ich schon mal ein Thumbnail. Weniger, um das ich mich kümmern muss.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay, are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Oh.
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on, let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley?
Sogar 2 Löcher.
This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Oh. Das ist die Stanley Parable 2.
Oh mein Gott.
Alter. Das gibt's ja gar nicht. So schön. So wunderschön.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 4.
Scheiß Ballons sind da jetzt.
Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk.
Die sind überall.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Scheiße.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Überall diese scheiß Ballons. Oh. Oh.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Oh. The bucket.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Nah.
Na doch.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate.
Oh, wow.
No more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
It's my bucket.
All right, coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Alter, noch ein
But
Sticker.
Stanley just couldn't do it.
Jawohl.
He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that
Ja,
risk?
nice.
All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket.
Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley. Find me.
He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then
Oh
suddenly,
nein.
he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Oh nein.
The bucket.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Oh wow.
Verstehst du jetzt, warum ich und Vincent so oft über den Eimer schon geredet haben? Weil der Eimer einfach alles verändert.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Ja, ein Ending können wir jetzt ja noch machen.
Welches Ending wünschst du dir denn zu sehen?
Ein weiteres Bucket-Ending, wenn es das gibt.
Ja, alle Endings sind anders mit dem Eimer. Jedes einzelne.
Ich würde aber nach rechts gehen.
Welches Ending willst du machen?
Warte mal. Können wir nicht da wieder das mit dem Dings machen? Mit dem Aufzug?
Natürlich.
And here it
Würde ich
was.
gerne.
Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section.
Oh, das wird auch lustig.
To the opposite door. Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps, Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
Oh.
Soll ich mal die Cheat Engine anmachen?
Ja, bitte.
Oh Gott. Stanley ist einfach so schnell, er teleportiert sich. Okay, ich muss... Alter! Die Fortsetzung ist jetzt pausiert.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Nein.
Oh.
I found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Boah, geil.
Richtig gut. Gibt's vielleicht hier was Neues im Aufzug? Vielleicht einen anderen Song? Ich denke nicht. Aber guter Song. Sehr guter Song.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of... But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, This is certainly the most logical explanation.
Oh, tatsächlich ist das eins der Endings, die ich tatsächlich selber nicht kenne.
Ja?
Ja. Ich weiß nicht, was jetzt passieren wird. Ich kenne eine Menge Bucket-Endings, aber nicht das.
Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley.
Everything is for far.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
Warte mal. Drück jetzt aber mal 3 einfach bei dem Dings, bei dem...
Was ist, wenn ich was anderes drücke?
Jetzt stimmt!
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolutely slamming on the number 3 over and over and over. Wow, he said. The number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Einmal noch. Okay.
Oh Mann.
Ich glaube, ich habe so eine Ahnung, worauf das jetzt hinausläuft.
The bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the number 3 repeatedly.
Oh nein.
Jetzt haben wir wieder rumfahren und dann gleich wieder auf die 3 drücken.
No, 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 said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
Oh. Böser Bucket.
Ja. Der Eimer ist halt ein sehr mysteriöses Wesen, ne? Vielleicht ist das die Nummer 3, der natürliche Feind.
Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears. And the whole time, he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
Oh man, armer Stanley.
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be? Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's. and it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work. For months, he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
Stage 3!
Three.
This was it.
It's all just
One
three.
last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
The dude who came up with pizza.
There was no one here. Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting, he was a failure, and in that moment Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
Was ein unerwartet trauriges Ending.
Ja.
Alter, ich weiß, was wir machen müssen. Bombscosity!
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay. Figurine Finders.
The
Komm,
confusion
ein
and the
Ending noch.
chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket.
Ich hab eine Idee.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be.
Alter, es ist fast 12 Uhr.
Truly, being here with the bucket was a grand adventure. Stanley reflected on all they'd been through together. First, walking through the door on the right, then walking to the lounge, then arriving at the lounge. What a... No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Aber ich würde sagen, what the fuck? Sind Dinge anders?
Ja.
Ich würde sagen, das war dennoch das letzte Ending für diesen Part.
Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss.
Bombscosity gewünscht.